Today we are considering 3 visual anomalies. Modern animated cartoons, originally shown via projector, have been with us since around 1890, but many examples of series of slightly differing sketches have been found dating back thousands of years. The quality of the medium, resolution of the drawings, and sheer volume of animated works have increased many-fold, especially in the digital age. But there is one interesting factor that has been with us for a very long time and is still standing strong today. Have you ever noticed how many cartoon characters have only 4 fingers per hand? What are the main reasons for this, and why are there exceptions? But before we answer these questions, a quick look at the other 2 visual anomalies. It is not uncommon to see a set of gears depicted like this in professional presentations about different parts working together. But there is something fundamentally flawed about this simple model. Likewise, illustrations like this one is extremely common, especially in children's books. But, and we're not focusing on things like the art style versus photorealism, it contains a glaring inconsistency when compared to what it's designed to depict. Can you spot these 2 flaws hidden in plain sight? If you'd like, pause the video at this point and consider the 2 situations for a while. Then let me know in the comments whether you could identify them before watching further. The answers will be revealed towards the end of the video, so keep watching. So, what's up with all the 4-fingered hands in animation? The main reason is probably the time, effort and money it saves. Drawing 5 fingers is considerably more difficult and time-consuming and thus more expensive than drawing 4 fingers. Remember that as a standard, animators need to produce 24 drawn frames per second. Amputating a finger does save them a lot of accumulated time. But why do our brains accept this blatant inaccuracy so readily? We'll consider 2 factors. The first one has to do with the overall style of animation. As an example, consider Felix the Cat, first shown in 1919, in his original and modern form. He was designed to be very distinguishable even though very few fine details are included. You have a few broad white areas comprising the face, which contains most of the scarce details, standing out against a black background of large, smooth segments. It is clear to our brains that this is about basic form rather than absolute realism, and our brains are quite happy to accept that. And while styles have undoubtedly become more nuanced, it's still largely a broad style with few details and some exaggerated main features. And in such a style, having 5 realistically thin fingers instead of 4 chubby ones could look even more out of place. This is connected to the second factor, which is known as the uncanny valley. When we look at people's emotional response to how much like a human something looks, we find that the familiarity increases steadily as things become more human-like. However, when we get to a certain point, our emotional response to increasing human likeness becomes negative quite fast, dipping for a while before turning back to positive again when something resembles a healthy, acceptable human being. We have no problem accepting something that, to a certain degree, kind of loosely resembles human likeness. We accept it for what it is. But when something is too close to human-like, without actually being human-like enough, our brains become suspicious. It becomes wary that something is trying too hard to fool it. So, a broad animation style easily gets away with 4 fingers on a hand. But, on the other hand, if you will, having only 3 fingers takes us too far to the left on the human likeness scale, and it starts looking too unnatural again. For this reason, aliens and monsters are often given 3 or 2 fingers to make them less familiar and human-like. This is amplified further by changing many other body parts as well. Of course, not all human-like animated characters have only 4 fingers per hand. Many have 5. This can be done to fit the drawing style or to purposefully make the character more human-like, especially for main characters. For example, compare Aladdin's thinner, more lifelike drawing style with 5 fingers per hand to that of the genie, which was specifically designed to be larger than life in visual appearance, personality, and voice. As a final interesting point, cultural differences can also play a role. Take Japan for example. The number 4 is considered an unlucky number by many people in Japan due to its connection with the word for death. Also, the practice of amputating one finger is connected with the Japanese mafia. And the number 4 is also used in a derogatory way in connection with certain classes. Japanese cartoons, therefore, generally use 5 fingers per hand. It has actually happened that certain Western characters, like Bob the Builder, were given an extra finger for publication in Japan. So, the next time you meet an animated character, have a second look before requesting a high five. Let's quickly get back to our other 2 visual anomalies. The main issue with these night sky illustrations is that there are stars shining through the area where the moon is supposed to block all light. Yes, you should not be able to see any of the stars behind the moon. Did you get it right? Finally, let's get those gears spinning. When gears are interlocked one after the other, like in this model, and we spin, for example, the green one, you can see that every other gear rotates in the opposite direction. This is because of the interaction between each gear and the one it interlocks with. If the smallest red gear is now placed such that it interlocks with the green gear instead of the blue gear, it will rotate in the same direction as the blue gear. If we placed it such that it interlocks with both the other gears, the green gear will attempt to rotate both the blue and red gears in an anti-clockwise direction, while the blue and red gear will get stuck trying to rotate in the same direction. Come to think of it, maybe this is actually a reasonable model of different parts tasked to work together. If you liked the video, please show it and consider subscribing for more.